Hi, everybody. Welcome to Small Town Big Gays. We are the gays who are too big for how small of a town this is. I'm Chance.
I'm Travis.
And we are joined today by a very special guest. It is Emily Berge, who is running for Congress.
Correct.
What district is there? There's a district named,
There
right?
is.
I should know this.
Oh, no, it's very confusing. Politics are very confusing. It's the 3rd Congressional District.
3rd Congressional District.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get to know you a little bit today. We're going to, ask you some of your viewpoints and stuff. But at the end of the day, we just want the people to know you and maybe why they should vote for you. And the importance of politics right now are pretty insane. I think we have had I don't know exactly when this will be released, probably pretty soon.
Yeah, this will be this Friday.
This Friday, perfect. So we've had a really strong week this week.
Strong is a good word
Yeah,
for it.
strong.
In the political scheme of things. So it's going to be, this might, hopefully we'll take some points of breathers in this conversation, but I think there's a lot of important things we do probably need to talk about. First of all, let's just let our listeners get to know who you are. So tell us a little bit of where you kind of grew up and things like that.
Sure. So I moved around a lot growing up. I don't know if I should look at you, Chance, or you, Travis.
You can look wherever you want.
Okay.
You can also look in your
at the
camera, whatever you want to do.
Okay. All these options.
Yeah.
It's good. Good to have options. So I moved around a lot growing up, but in Minnesota. My life story, I was born in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Then we moved to Rochester. Then we moved to the other side of Rochester. And then we moved up to Edina. Then we moved back to Rochester. And then we moved a little bit more in Rochester. And then I went to college. So 3 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah.
So that was, then I went to Stout, UW Stout with undergraduate in human development and family studies with a minor in psych, and did a year and did AmeriCorps. And then I went back for my grad school in counseling, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. So.
Yeah, I did not know that about you until yesterday. My friend told me you used to be his counselor.
Oh.
So, and then I said I was going to ask you about him, and then you were going to just start crying and run out of the room, and he was the reason why you quit doing counseling and decided to run for Congress. So
That is very true.
yeah, see, I told you it was true about you.
No, I don't know who you're talking about.
Would you like to break HIPAA right now with
Yes.
anyone? Okay.
Yes.
We'll leave it there.
Who was your worst client?
Yeah.
Give their first and last name.
Yeah. Where they live, dude. Diagnosis. No, I love all my clients, and my clients amaze me every single day. If you want to see real resilience, just working with clients, and people go through really, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Go through really shitty things,
Mhm.
and just watching people, whether it's years later or in the midst of it, it's just them, again, it's that resilience, and it's amazing. And I feel really honored to do that work. So I love all of my clients, and I'm in their corner forever.
Yeah.
I think about my clients all the time, actually.
I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my friend did actually say a lot of really wonderful things about how much they loved you. So, I felt like growing up, I wanted to be a counselor. I thought that was something that would be of interest to me, and I kind of pursued it in weird, random ways. But I'm a fixer. I want to fix everyone's problems, and it was just too much for me to emotionally handle as an empath.
Right.
Empath. Right. Are you still practicing? Or are you okay?
Yeah, I see clients Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Okay. That broke HIPAA because we have an appointment on Tuesday.
Oh.
So
See, you broke HIPAA. I did not.
I can't break HIPAA. I'm not.
That's true. So they know HIPAA has been broken.
I win.
Yeah.
I think I won that argument.
I want to ask you more about AmeriCorps.
Oh,
I love that. So what did you do for AmeriCorps?
I worked with runaway youth and at-risk youth, and actually in downtown Eau Claire. So I did different groups, worked up in Chippewa, in Eau Claire, different schools. So man or woman to a hotline. I always like to say manned, but so, woman to hotline where people could call in if they're having trouble. A lot of times it was, unfortunately, the kids didn't leave on their own necessarily, but the parents would kick them out, or the parents made it so uninhabitable that the kids felt like they had to leave to be safe.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's tough, really tough work to be in.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to go into that field and into that area of work?
Mm-hmm. So it's actually, I read a book an undergraduate called Reviving Ophelia. I don't know if you've read that book, but it's about a social worker, and she worked with teenage girls and there was a lot of cutting, and just like the girls were cutting themselves, and she was helping them through it. And I remember reading the book and like, well, what does this person do? This is what I want to do. And I flipped it over on the back, and oh, she's a social worker, and oh, I could do counseling. And that was kind of that's like the main thought that pops in my head the main thought that popped in my head when I think about when I decided to do that. I was going to say, I've also really enjoyed working with kids though. And that was kind of my gateway into helping I just love kids and helping them. And now I don't do so much work with kids because again, it's a lot of it with the parents, which is more challenging, but I still love the babies and the kids. So.
Did you always like feel like that was the kind of work you were going to like go into growing up, or was it kind of like a hard pivot as you got older?
I either wanted to do journalism or working with children, like in high school. That was kind of but then I went to Stout and they didn't have a journalism degree. And I went to Stout because my best friend went to Stout. So, I mean, that's why you make those big decisions.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just good. Yeah. So they didn't have a journalism degree. They had early childhood. So I started there. And then I'm like, well, I'm not a very crafty person. And then all of a sudden I had these images of me like putting together snowmen or something, like those cotton ball snowmen. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So then I went into counseling.
So then after graduating from Stout, did you like stay in the area then or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. I met my husband at Stout. So then we moved here to Eau Claire. I did my internship in Eau Claire at the Y, and then he did his internship too. And then we just stayed.
How many years have you been in the area?
Oh, since 2002.
Okay. It's quite a few years.
Yeah. I don't really do math.
And the local Y has not changed a bit.
No.
Yeah.
It's the same.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
What was kind of the like jumping off point to get into local politics? Because you're involved in local politics as well.
Yes. So it was the 2016 election and I always voted, but I was never involved in politics, and I didn't really know who was who. And I kind of heard of some people, but I didn't know the difference between local, state, federal. I didn't know what a CD was, Congressional District. But then, the country decided to elect Donald Trump, who sexually assaults women, instills fear in people to lead. That's how he leads, the bully. And I just could not believe that we could do that as a country. And so at the time, I'm also a runner. And at the time I was actually training for a 50-mile run. And I was on a 20-mile training run. And I just was like thinking about it in January. And I'm like, I have to do something, is what I said to myself. And I'm just going to keep moving forward like you do on a long run. But I'm going to like do something, and I'm going to be the change I want to see. So I'm just going to be the leader that we need in the world. And so I got involved. I went to the Women's March. It was the first time I've ever done anything like that before. And that was amazing. And then I got involved with Indivisible the first time around and started organizing for them. And then people came up to me and said, oh, you should run for city council. And I said, well, how many hours a week is it? And they're like, around 10, which is a lie. It's way more than a 10.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what kind of started that I ran. I flipped a seat by about 26 points, but took out an incumbent, was there on the north side where we are. I was a north side rep. So that was in 2018. I was reelected in 21, and then I ran for council president in 23, which is elected by the voters because we don't have a mayor. So fun fact for Eau Claire. Yeah, we have a council city manager form of government. So we oversee the city manager. The manager oversees staff and the operations, and we do like the budget and policy, fun stuff. Then I'm known as council president, the highest elected official in the city.
There's like so much to politics that I just don't like understand. It's very overwhelming, like all the little like nuances and all the like, I don't want to say like little roles because every role is important, but there's so many like different roles within politics and how it all works together. And that's why it's like, I just don't think they spend enough time in school like really focusing on that and like teaching you about it. Because like I barely remember even like the big stuff, like the 3 branches of, it's just like there's so much to it. And like everyone just puts such importance on like the presidential election, which is obviously very important, but there's so many other elections that are important. And I find myself, even as someone who I feel like I'm decently educated just
Mhm.
because like I feel like I have to be as a queer person in a smaller
Mhm.
community. There's sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so ready to go vote and like go to it. And then like I'll get to this question like, who do you want for this position? I'm like, what is this?
I've never heard of any
Yes.
of these
Yeah. And I'm
people.
like, oh
I
my
know.
God. And then like they don't always put like, you know, if it's their what side this way. I'm like, I don't know. Am I doing the right thing? Should I just not answer that? And then you have to answer it. You know, it's like,
right.
so it's so hard, I think, sometimes to keep yourself informed. And I wish there was just like a better way to make that happen. And I don't know what that is, but maybe you can invent that.
I will. I'm going to
Okay.
do that. hmm
Just like you know, like how they have those quizzes where you like find what kind of pet breed would be best for you, like what kind of dog is best, and you just like click
we
the
need a
questions.
BuzzFeed
Like,
quiz to tell you
Yeah,
who to vote
like-
They
for.
have those, I think. My kids went through North, and my daughter is going to, and she took one of those.
for like election stuff.
Well, like to tell you what, are you Democrat, Republican,
Oh,
communist?
yeah, I
Is
get
that
like
what you're
that.
talking about, or
Well,
something
yeah,
different?
yeah, but I feel like it should also then tell you like what
to
people you
vote
should
for.
vote for.
Oh, yeah.
like that stand with your ideology the most.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Chance, work
think-
on that.
I think everyone needs to write a blurb that tells you like, here's what they're about. You get a paragraph, 3 to 5 sentences. That's it. That's all I need
hmm For the candidates to write
for the
that.
candidates. Yeah.
But what if they lie? That's the tricky part.
Well, they're politicians.
I
don't
know.
they?
Yes, they do. Not me, but they do.
Well, I was just going to say, you said city council is more than 10 hours a week. So next time Jess Schoen tries to get me to
Yes.
run and she says, oh, it's not that much.
Do you want
Don't you make that face. Don't you make that face. I was going to say, what's the like scare? Because I have thought about running for something local like city council before. I'm scared.
Yes.
What is the most intimidating? What was the most intimidating part of running for local office, and like what was the reality? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. So, what were the fears, the anxiety, and then what
Yeah, going
reality?
into
Yes,
it, what
the
scared you the most, and then how did that actually turn out?
Anticipatory anxiety. Yes. So it was scary to put yourself out there. I think. I mean, you really have to put yourself out there, and you need to talk about yourself, and you need to say why people should vote for you, and that, you know, and as a counselor, even now as I'm running for Congress, like as a counselor, I don't really say much, you know, in the room, and it's not about me, and I prefer listening than talking. But when you're running for office, you need to talk, and so that was, I don't know if that was, well, it was kind of scary putting yourself out there, and so but you can do it. You can be scared and still do things,
Mhm.
and I think you should totally do it.
Yeah.
I'll
Me
help
too.
you. I'll door knock for you.
Oh God,
It's fine. It's super
happening
fun.
again. This is the same thing that happened with Jess.
Yes.
See, it's all part of destiny to
Yes.
happen for you. Chance for city council 20.
Well, so yeah, we can plan this out. So next year is the president.
Give Eau Claire a chance.
He wants to do it. The slogans are writing
The
themselves. You should
slogans write
just do it.
themselves. A second chance for Eau Claire. That's my re-election.
This is amazing.
One more chance is for the
Yes.
final time.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you do lay awake at night planning this stuff out.
I do.
That's
I think
awesome.
about it.
Yeah, that means you should do it. I will totally help you.
Okay, I'll take note of that.
It could be a
Thank
podcast.
Yeah. And then your whole platform is, I'm going to give you this really great idea that I came up with.
you. Okay.
Your BuzzFeed quiz / find a pet / we should find a state. So you have to take this quiz and you have to go through all these ideologies of what you believe and what you don't believe. And then we just put everyone who falls very similar to that in one state together. And then you don't have to worry about it.
I agree. We should segregate the country.
Segregate.
So
Segregate
I would
everyone.
say, okay,
It's not by race, it's just by ideology.
ideology.
Yeah.
And if you change your mind, you get kicked out of your state.
you just-
I think you get deported. Yeah.
yeah.
No,
okay.
you just get to move on your free will.
Oh, but
It's
you would.
your ideas.
Free will.
It's genius. Just think about it a little
Okay.
bit more.
I mean, I have to keep thinking on that.
We'll put that one in the hopper.
No one's going to force you to move there, but it's just like, this is where the people who have this idea live in Minnesota. And you should, if you feel this way, you should probably live there too. Wouldn't that be great?
Mhm.
Moving on.
And then we can go to war with Wisconsin all the time.
Right. So that's actually my plan for Eau Claire.
Is
So
to go to war with Wisconsin.
Or
Yes.
Altoona.
that too.
We should go to
We
war
should
with
fight them.
Altoona.
Wait, no, this is all kidding. No.
To war. I think we should start a war. I'll
No.
fight. Just
Okay. You can fight.
No,
I don't like to
believe in
fight.
that. Yeah. Okay. Well,
I do have my plan. Can I tell you my plan?
yes.
Okay.
I'll work on mine. Let's hear yours.
Okay. So I do want to make Eau Claire, and I think it's working, is that I want Eau Claire to be like the most welcoming place in the country or world.
Yeah.
And I think that does attract a certain type of person that likes to be welcoming and accepting of all. And that's like when, I don't know if you're plugged in with the whole refugee thing, when, Ron Johnson's staffer tried to, do anti-immigration rallies. And I was like, heck no, we accept everyone here in Eau Claire. Doesn't matter where you're from. I just think that's a really important message to put out there. And I think that is why we're growing, because we are welcoming. And not only is it the moral thing to do, but it's an economic smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm trying to do that people that we are welcoming here. And then that attracts more welcoming people here. Mm-hmm. That's my grand plan.
There's a reason that Eau Claire is the only city. Is it the only city or county projected to grow in Wisconsin the next?
Yes. So we are the third in line. So Dane County, and then actually Trumpelow, or in Arcadia area, I think Trumpelow County, and then Eau Claire. Yeah, Wisconsin is slated to lose 200,000 people in the next 30 years, and Eau Claire is supposed to grow by, I think, 12%. The same. Yeah. And we are like number 3 fastest growing, over 40,000 people. I mean, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that'll get us a Trader Joe's finally?
I hear no.
World Market? Or World Market and Trader Joe's the same thing?
Oh, they are next to each other a lot.
I would take a World Market if we can't get a Trader Joe's.
Why don't we have a Trader Joe's city council president?
I know, because of income, apparently. Like they have to look at the app. They won't go somewhere unless the income is a certain level, which is kind of discriminatory, I think.
I agree.
City council got involved in that, and that was kind of like your introduction to politics, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And then now you're deciding to run for Congress. Mm-hmm. That's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What took you to that leap? What brought you to this point? I know you said, like, you were kind of saying, and Chance and I talk about this a lot on our podcast, of like, if you can complain about it, you can do whatever, you can be sad about it, you can be happy about it, but until like you actually do something about it, then you don't really have the space to say on it. So I feel like that's kind of where you were at with it, where like, you're like, if I'm going to do this, I want to, like, I can be sad about it, but I need to be sad and do something about it.
Right.
And like, I feel like that's kind of how we live our lives, of like, we can either choose to be miserable and say there's nothing for queer people to do in town, or we can find things for queer people to do in town and make them happen.
Yes.
So I love that's kind of your standpoint, but you're doing it on a little bit of a different scale than what we're doing. Ours is more entertainment. Yours is not entertainment. Why did you choose to get into that? And why would you wake up one day and decide that this is a great path? Because it's kind of intense.
Yeah. It is intense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things floating in my head. It wasn't just one night, obviously, that I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this. It's just, I mean, really, so it's going to sound weird, but I feel like I'm on this arc with Trump. Like, that's when I got involved in politics. Actually, I ran for assembly in 2020 because it was a gerrymandered district. Now they fixed the map, so it's better now. But so there really was no real shot of me winning, because it was a red district, but no one was on the ballot. And I knew if I ran as a Democrat, it would bring out Democrats in like Clark County and rural counties and help defeat Donald Trump. And then now with him being reelected, and he's just doing terrible things and illegal things and breaks my heart things and just not okay. I'm like, well, we have to do something. Again, I just always have this feeling like I have to do something. And I'm like, well, I feel like Derek Van Orden is low hanging fruit, and we have not been able to, we weren't able to prevent him from getting elected. And then we weren't able to get him out last time. And so it's like, all right, well, I'm going to do this then. And, I've talked to him on the phone. I've been in his office in DC, like trying to advocate for constituents in Eau Claire, because my constituents here in Eau Claire, the 74,000 of us, they're his constituents too. And you would think that he'd want to work with me to like problem solve things on housing, homelessness.
Like do something to help the people who voted him into office.
Yes. Or even the people that didn't vote him into office. That's like, when you sign up for this and you get elected, you need to care for everyone and help everyone. That's how I think. So I just remember it was actually the Friday before the inauguration. I was going to fly out to DC, which I did, to protest. And that morning I was on the phone with Derek Van Orden and his people, and they were in DC. And we were talking about homelessness and housing, and the conversation just, he was blaming, he was yelling. He was not interested in any problem solving at all. Not even like hearing the experience. Like when I talk to people, I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on. What's like, you're closest to the ground. Like what's going on? What are your solutions? Because usually the people who are closest to the problem have a pretty good idea what the solutions are. None of that. He just yelled, blamed. He blamed refugees. He blamed Airbnbs. It was just, it didn't make any sense. And I felt so frustrated after that phone conversation. And it's like, we deserve better. Like we need someone in Congress that like fights for us. And he is not. And that's why I'm running.
I love that. We do need to address the problem of Airbnbs, though.
I know.
They're a huge problem.
So that is a whole nother thing. And you should talk to Christian Phelps about that, because it's not his fault, but it's the state legislature.
It is his fault, actually. I blame you, Christian, for all the Airbnb problems in the world, actually.
No. We love Christian. Though I didn't realize his strong feelings on pickleball.
Oh, yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
In our friend group.
Oh, that's funny.
It's quite a thing.
Yeah. But the state legislature has tied our hands at the local level to really do anything about Airbnbs, that and lots of other things. So that's why I bring up Christian in the state legislature. It's not. I'm sure he would like to fix it, actually.
That's a good point to bring up when it comes to like why you ran for local politics, is that local and state politics affect us more than federal, first and foremost, which is ironic that, schools tend to put emphasis on the presidential and the federal elections rather. And of course, those are important, but if you really want to affect change at the local level that you're going to see in the immediate, state and local is where it's at.
Yeah, that's your stump speech right there.
Basically. God damn it. Maybe I would be really good at this.
I just want to get your opinion and give you the voice and give you a moment to talk about like what it is to be a woman within this particular area. Because I feel like so many times we see a lot of representation from male, especially cis white male. What has been your experience as a female? I guess I shouldn't have I'm assuming that's what you identify as.
Yes.
And just like what your experiences are with that in the field, just like not only running for Congress, but as like a city council member and things like that.
Sure.
What your experience has been.
Yeah, as a local official. So there's, especially in 2016, and then so I ran in 2018, there's a lot of emphasis on and helping and support of women running for office. There's definitely a wave. They called it the pink wave. But what I noticed is that there's all this help and support of women getting in office, but once you're in office, there's not a lot of support. And it is very male dominated. In Eau Claire, we're almost 50%. No, now there's only me, Jess, Clara, Emily. So there's 4 of us on council out of 11. That's not 50%. I'm not good with math, but I know that. But a lot of these spaces are male dominated, which is different. And it just has a different feel to it. So, the conversations, cigar parties and things like that I don't really partake in. I mean, I could, but I don't. So like that is different. I think people judge women more to what we wear, how we speak. Our tone of voice. Are we strong? I'm getting that a lot now with running for Congress. Well, are you, strong enough, and are you tough enough? I'm like, do you ask men that question? I really want to know.
You should ask.
I'd have asked that. Yes.
Good.
Yeah. No,
they do not.
Right. Yeah. Right.
People don't ask me anything. A confident man could get away with murder.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah,
I believe that. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is kind of weird to think about. Even though I am a man, I hate them.
Mm.
Men are annoying. I'm annoying.
Truly the worst. We are the worst.
We are. I hate men. Love them.
They just tend to be louder for no reason.
Yeah.
Louder, and it really is true that people just don't question the same way that they question a woman who's trying to get into politics or anything like that. It's a man is assumed to be competent and more often than not proves not to be, versus, you know, a competent woman is assumed to not be competent.
You have to prove yourself. Women have to prove. And same with people of color. If you're not a cis white
marginalized group, you always have to prove your worth with anything, for sure. Yeah, I think, I don't know, for me, just like my experiences growing up as like a queer person, I always find comfort in women. So like for me, I'm like any opportunity, like doctor, eye doctor, like fast food worker, anytime I have a choice to be around a woman or a man, I'm going with a woman 100% of the time.
Going back to like the current state of US politics, super fun time.
Yeah.
Super fun time for all involved, I think. So one thing that being a young person on the internet, I feel like a lot of young progressives specifically are frustrated with elements of the Democratic establishment for ineffective, what's the word I'm looking for? Being ineffective at countering the Trump administration on a lot of things, from Congress and the Senate approving nominees without much of a fight, to Chuck Schumer rolling over and allowing Republicans to just tramp all over Democrats and help the Republicans keep the government open and get a bunch of what they want.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all of that? I guess is a big question. And like, if elected, like where do you approach that? That's a huge question. I apologize.
Hey, don't apologize. It's your job. It's fine.
Hard-hitting journalism.
Yes. I mean, it's all very frustrating. And I think it's a sense, kind of what we were talking about before. It's easy to feel powerless when things are going to hell in a handbasket, if that's the saying. I mean, that's how I feel. And that is, like, again, what we were saying before. And I tell people this, and this is how I live my life. You know, you put energy into what you can control. And I was in a position I could run for Congress, so that's what I'm doing. And, you know, so, but it's frustrating to see that. And it's hard to feel powerless. And then when we see the people in power just sitting on their hands, seemingly not doing anything. So that's how I feel about it. That was your first part of your question, I think. And then what would I do? I think it is, you got to take a stand when it's hard. And I know it's just council, and it's not the same as Congress, but I've taken hard votes on council. And it is hard when the whole room wants you to vote one way, but you know what's best for the community, because it does tend to be the people. And it's important to talk to people in the room too. I don't want to, but you have to think about who's in the room and who's not in the room, and then also the future of our community. And that's what I have learned being on council. And so I guess then in Congress, so it's hard to make these hard decisions, very public decisions, but I have done that before and I will do it again, because I have to do what's best for our community as a whole. And that usually means sticking up for the most vulnerable too. Because it's like all raising tide raises all boats. Something like
Rising tide raises all boats.
Yeah,
yes.
That's it. Yeah. So I'm not afraid to do the hard thing. I have done the hard thing at the local level. So I was on council during COVID, when people were protesting and threatening me, when they were attacking immigrants in our community. I was one of the first things I did on council was organize a ban on conversion therapy. That's people came out against that. So it's like, you have to stand up in the face of adversity and still do the right thing. And I have done that, and I will continue. It's just who I am as a person.
I have a very important, hard-hitting question for you. What are your thoughts on The Simple Life?
What does that mean?
It's a television show circa the early 2000s starring Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie.
Oh, yeah.
Opinions? Thoughts?
They were very blonde.
Mm-hmm. That's your thought? Okay. All right, we'll work on that. Okay, so some serious political questions. What made you decide to run for Congress of all the different avenues you can go in politics? Why specifically Congress?
So Congress, okay, that's a good question. And so at the state level, So there's all the options. I always like to know all my options when I make a decision. So, I mean, I'm the highest elected official in Eau Claire right now. You look at state level and that Christian, I guess I'm in Jody's district and she's doing a good job. So that would be really all. And then Jeff Smith would be running for state Senate and he's doing a good job. So I wouldn't run against them. And then Derek Van Orden is not doing a good job. So I'm going to run against him.
That's a good way to make a decision.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like you.
Yeah. Yes.
So for maybe some of our listeners that maybe aren't as involved in politics and know the things, what exactly does a Congress person do? What is their role? What are they in charge of?
They're in charge of, it's a lot of funding, and it's and just the budget is one of the biggest things that they do. They're in charge they're supposed to be in charge of if we go to war or not.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. We should take that back, and I support that. Given congressional approval again over when we decide, hopefully not ever to bomb people, but when the president, yes, all that. Let's see. Yeah, so funding, like just how programs are set up, housing, transit. I think about all the things that are affect us at the local level. Healthcare is huge that we could do more on at the federal level. Our civil liberties, making sure that they're being protected. We do have three branches, so Congress, executive, and Supreme Court. So Congress is one part of that, working in tandem with the other two. But there's also those checks and balances too, which is really important. So like impeaching the president when he's not doing a good job. They did just something good that Congress just did. They did repeal the 2003 authorization to go to war. And then there's another one earlier. Maybe it was after Desert Storm, so in the 90s. But 2001, I guess, is the one that they use the most, executive branch uses the most, and Trump does, to go war willy-nilly. So we need to repeal that one back.
We are obviously two queer members of the Chippewa Valley, and our platform is largely based upon queer people, and we're more on the entertainment side of things, but we do get involved in politics some as well. I think just being out and proud is a political statement in its own. So for our listeners who I think we probably have like a 50-50 of queer listeners and cis listeners as well. What do they need to know, and what is their support coming from you specifically? And what is your experience in being involved in the community, specifically the queer community in the Chippewa Valley?
Mm-hmm. So, I grew up in a progressive household, so it's always been accepted for who you are, who you love. It's never been questioned. So I grew up with that value. I have someone really important to me that was she's still alive, role model for me, and she lives on the East Coast, and she taught me about the Stonewall riots. I knew that, and I learned about that when I was in middle school, how drag queens, took down the New York City cops, and we went by where it was. And so I just, grew up with that. Like, it's fine. It's normal. People can be who they want to be. What's the big deal about it? So I definitely had those values growing up. And, during AmeriCorps, and then in high school too, like my friends, I don't know if they were really out at that time, but they were gender fluid and, probably bi too. And I'm not sure, but they were who they were. And then AmeriCorps, I worked with the AIDS Resource Center. They had their Q2 group, and I did some of the work I did, and attended different trainings with that. With trans particularly, I read the book. So it was called something like The Apple Falls Not Far from the Tree, something along that. Andrew Solomon wrote it. And on chapter, it's actually a very interesting book. And there was a chapter on there about a trans child, and it was from the perspective of the parent. And at that point, so I was probably just starting my counseling career, and I didn't know a lot about the trans community at that time. So that was probably 20 years ago. But in that chapter, I talked about like just this parent wanting the best for her kid, and just the pain she felt like watching her kid couldn't be who, that they wanted or she wanted. I forget what gender at this time, but And that just really spoke to me as a mom of, I think my kids were the same age, and I'm just like, yeah, what is the big deal? It's fine. So then I learned more about, trans folks. I went to a training, Dr. Alexander Hall in Menominee. I don't know if you know her, but she would put on trainings about trans. It was more about trans teenagers and I learned really about the biology of it. And so that was really interesting. And then after that, I'm like, okay. So then I started opening my practice up. So I was counseling then, and I got into private practice. So I started advocating and putting one of the first counselors to see trans folks because there's a stupid rule where if you want to transition, you have to you have to go see a counselor. Now it's fine if people want to see a counselor, but to force someone to see a counselor, it's just really dumb, I think. But that's just a barrier, I think, too. So I had a really affordable counseling, and I just made myself open, and I publicized marketed myself that, hey, I'll, because you need a letter then too. And so I would write letters and see folks. And so just, as you get to know people, again, it's not a big deal. So that's, I guess, a short history.
Yeah.
I did not know that you needed that it was compulsory counseling.
Sorry, and it's to get surgery, to get gender confirmation surgery.
Yeah. I just didn't know that was part of it, because that's remarkably similar to what some states do to prevent abortion access. Is you have to go and see a counselor to make a decision about your own body.
Right.
Difficult. I remember when I first started doing drag, I had a friend that was going through figuring out what their gender identity was, and we had to go to Minneapolis to see a counselor up there because there was nothing around the area really, or it just wasn't well known if there was at the time. And just then also you had to so let's say you're going from male to female, you had to present as that in a very effeminate way. You couldn't just be where I feel nowadays people realize you don't have to be hair and makeup and nails and that's how you prove your femininity, where then you had to and I just remember it was just such a weird experience to be what, why do you have to do all this to prove something that in your mind? And so it's great to hear that this area has more resources to that and stuff, and that we've come a long way. And I feel what kind of led me to this is I feel a lot of times with, especially when I've heard for congressional runnings and the politics that are more local, but a little bit higher up in the, I don't know, the rankings, whatever the word may be, of a lot of times in especially Eau Claire's purple politics of we have a lot of candidates who claim to be supportive in one thing or another, but don't really actually do anything or really say anything. They're just kind of well, yeah, I accept everyone, which is great. That's really the easy solution, the really easy thing to say. But it's such that fine line of we need people who are out and supportive and saying that they're, involved in these things and want to do it because it's so important for those people who are in those marginalized groups to hear that and experience that. But then you do have the people who are on the fence with a lot of things, and you need to figure out how to sway their votes the right way too. So it is kind of a hard thing of how do you be yeah, I'm very progressive in my thinking, but also I need to also appeal to people who aren't progressive, but progressive. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel
it does make sense. Yeah.
I feel that's a really difficult position. And I feel that's why we've had a really hard time winning the congressional vote here in the 3rd district of this area of the purple politics of we have a lot of people who, I feel we have a lot of people in our community that are open-minded if they know the people, if they know the experience. I know for my family, a lot of them are very conservative, but they don't realize what they say, what they do, and how they vote really affects me and the people around me. And then if you begin to even question them on it, it's well, it's not you. I love you. And it's just but it's these
You're
extremists.
One of the good ones.
Yeah, it's the extremists. And so it's it's so difficult to, especially in this last week, has brought a lot of I can just speak for especially my queer friends, and more specifically trans people are so targeted right now, specifically on everything. It's just honestly insane. Just feeling who's on our side, feeling no one's on our side, but then also trying to be understanding of when you get into politics, to just come out as I'm pro-trans and I love it, and I'm abortion's great, I'm to like be those things. Like, even though you probably feel those, it's like hard to be that, because then you can lose that, like those conservative votes that are like, can lean either way, because unfortunately they are very important and we do need them. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but
I
it's just
understand
like,
what you're saying, though.
yeah, it's a weird position.
So so I view it as like, I have my values and I'm very firm in my values, but it's maybe how you message it, but still staying true to your values. So abortion is healthcare, because women die if they don't have access to abortion. And so that is healthcare, or they can't get pregnant because of health reasons. So it's really is how, you frame things and message things, like for LGBTQ and the queer community. I view it as just, why does it matter? Like, mind your own business, like who people are sleeping with, or how they dress, or whatever. Like, what's the big deal? I mean, we have so many other things to worry about. So many, like healthcare, how homeless people. I mean, why are we worried about what this person looks like, or when they're just trying to be happy? They're just trying, like with trans folks, like and my understanding is like they just want like the outside to match the inside, so what's the harm in that? It's like, why? They're not hurting anyone. And I will say this, because I know the extreme conservatives, or even conservatives, do try to make trans folks like scary, and there's fear there and there's not fear there. And of all my times being a counselor, I've been a counselor for about 20 years. Again, but the people that hurt children are not trans people. They're white, cisgendered male, white male men, and it's usually people they know. That's who's hurting kids and people. It's the babysitters, it's the boyfriends, it's just this misaligned fear. So I guess I kind of went off there. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's just kind of how you message it, I guess, but still staying firm in your values.
Yeah.
Well, because it really comes down to the only reason that they're pointing the finger at trans people is that the Republican policies are so unpopular with 90% of the country. If they actually paid attention to how this affects them, like the big headline right now is farmers are freaking out because China isn't buying any U.S. soybeans because of the tariffs. Those tariffs are a direct result of Trump's policies. Yet these people who voted for Trump, who said, I'm going to enact these tariffs, are now seeing the consequences of their vote, of who they put in office. And, but instead of focusing that anger on, turns out the guy who said he was going to do this and then actually did it, turns out he was the wrong choice for our situation, for our country. They're pointing the fingers at misinformation by the New York Post about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and blaming it on trans people, when there's no evidence that it was a trans person. The Republicans need these culture wars to direct anger away from them and their insanely unpopular, unhelpful policies that only benefit the top percentile of billionaires in this country. And like you said, it's great for someone to be like, well, I accept everyone, whatever. I don't want you to say that you are going to accept everyone, that you're going to accept the LGBTQ. I want to know that when the Supreme Court inevitably takes on Obergefell versus Hodges, I want to know that my congressional person is going to be on the floor introducing and promoting a bill that is going to protect the Respect for Marriage Act that Joe Biden passed a couple years ago, that says that even if the Supreme Court strikes down Obergefell and same-sex marriage is no longer legal across the country, I want to know that our congressional person is going to be on the floor maintaining the Respect for Marriage Act and also introducing bills to legalize same-sex marriage, to protect trans people and all that. I want to see action.
Yes.
I don't want words. That is, I think, as someone who identifies as a progressive, identifies as a young person who votes Democrat.
Yeah.
Bitch,
Sorry, go on.
really broke my flow.
Yes,
I was
really
on a good rant there.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, you were.
I was like, screw council, you're going to Congress with me.
My issues with the Democratic Party are that we see so much inaction and it is just all talk.
Yeah.
And Chuck Schumer will stand up on the fucking dais and say Donald Trump is a threat to society, is a threat to the Democratic Party or to the democratic institution that the U.S. is founded on, applauded for talking for a really long time, and then moments later votes to confirm one of Trump's nominees.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is where a bunch of young progressives find difficulty in continuing to support the Democratic Party,
Mm-hmm.
and in finding even just the drive to get out and to go and vote
Mm-hmm.
because we feel like our voices are not actually being listened to,
Mm-hmm.
and that even the people who say that they are for us are less for us and more for themselves. Once they get into office, they don't seem to actually do anything.
Correct.
So basically, are you gonna do that?
I'm gonna do something.
Okay.
Yes, I am. I am going to do that, and I also want to be held accountable too. So if it's looking like I'm not, I think I will do, because that's just who I am. Again, like I will do that. But if it's looking like I'm not, I want to be held accountable. Be like, whoa, what are you doing? Or we need more. And yes, and I'll say, I am in a primary, and I am the one with, like, I have a track record. You can look at how I have stood up for the most vulnerable in our community, whether it be on council or through counseling. Our community member, I think it's important to look at people when they're not running for office, because a lot of people can say things, what they're going to do, but you have to look. Yeah, actions speak louder than words. That's what you're saying. And that's where it matters. I agree with you.
First off, it's good to mention that you are in a primary. What do you say to people who tend to vote down ballot blue? Why should they pick you over the other Democratic candidate for the primary?
Because I have been in the arena fighting for people since 2018, and I've done hard things. People can see what I have done. I vote my values. I stand up for people, even when it's hard. Even like when they were coming after me with the refugees, it can be, and I'm not sad about this, but it can be hard to be out in front and you do feel like a punching bag sometimes. But it's important to, and I don't regret that. I'm glad to take that for my community and to stand up for the most vulnerable. And I have done that. And my other two primary opponents have not. And I have worked hard to deliver for the people in Eau Claire. I'm also the past president of League of Wisconsin Municipalities. So I've worked for communities across Wisconsin too. So you can see what I've done and how I've advocated for it is like housing, healthcare, water access, civil rights, just don't be a jerk, like policies. So and I guess that's why people should vote for me. And that's why I will, I have also, things are crazy town at the national level. And we need someone with some experience, I think, because I'm going to hit the ground running because of my almost 9 years of experience getting stuff done, working with people, writing legislation, voting, passing budgets. I've done the work. I know it's locally, but it's more than my opponents.
And again, local politics are often more important than federal.
Yes.
And then I guess part two of that question is, what do you say to the younger generation, more progressive? Why should they go and vote in the general election?
Well, the primary first.
Yes, of course. Yes. Why should? Yes. Yep.
So the primary is August 11th next year. So 2026. So we have a year to go. So it's really important to vote in the in spring election too. Might as well throw in the spring election. So that's in April. So April, and then the primary for Congress is August 11th. And then the general is in November. And it's really important because we do have a democracy. And this is one way we can impact change and affect change. And I know it's frustrating, and it looks like you feel powerless, and it's frustrating to see these supposed to be adults in the room not adulting, and they're just sitting on their hands. But voting is something you do have control over. You can choose to go vote, and you can choose to make your voice heard. And I mean, it's just, that's what you can do. We live in a democracy, so that's our one. And it doesn't come around a lot. You know, we don't have any general elections this year, so we don't get to vote in November this year, at least not around here. So it's just really important. But I know, I understand that feeling though, as well as like, what's the point? And it takes trust, right? Like I'm telling you to vote for me and trust me, but it's hard when other people have said that too, and they've just blown smoke. So I am that person though, that I will do what I say I'm going to do. I should look at the camera when I say that.
If you don't, could we make
What's your home address?
Yeah.
No.
It's public. Yeah.
True.
It's not too hard to find.
make it a policy to make you walk barefoot on some mouse traps?
Mouse traps?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should get back to
If you say
physically
you're going to do
punishing
something and then you don't,
politicians,
we'll
yeah.
make you walk on a mouse trap
Sure.
at Pride.
At Pride. Yeah.
Yeah, Pride.
Or
Yeah.
what would be worse for me is actually cotton balls.
Oh, just
Really?
like make you
I
jump
hate-
in a
I
pool
just
of
hate
cotton
the
balls.
feel of cotton balls. That makes
Okay.
me twitch.
Interesting.
Perfect. We'll have that arranged at Pride.
But I will never. I mean, I will do
Okay,
it.
so you don't have to worry about it then.
No, I don't have to worry about
Okay,
it.
You've heard it here first.
I just want to circle back briefly and say that older I'm getting and the more I am involved, the more I'm realizing just how important it is to vote in every election,
Mhm.
whether it's general or midterm or spring, and that often, you know, the not general election, everything but the general election. The general election is almost the least important of the three,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's the midterms and it's the spring, it's the all those things. That's when they have your local ballot measures and your local referendums, which again affect you more than federal politics do. Your local and state ballots and referendums affect you more than who is in the executive office. And I'm also a big advocate of, as someone who's frustrated with the current state of the United States government, I am a big advocate for, yes, the system, particularly speaking at a federal level, yes, the system is broken. Yes, something needs to change, but that change can be affected both by working outside of the system and working through the system. I think it is still very important to, despite the frustrations and the feelings that a lot of people, specifically my age and younger, have towards feeling like, well, voting doesn't actually matter, all of this stuff. It does matter if you start from the bottom and you work it up, because if you start at your local level and then you start at your state, that's going to affect federal. And working within that system is one of the ways, it's one of the avenues of change to make this whole system better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Vote in your local and state and midterm and vote in all the elections. Go do it.
Right. And actually today, I think, is National Voter Registration Day.
Oh, do you know the web address that people can find out where to register as a voter?
myvote.gov.
myvote.gov.
And you can, like, we could do this right now, look up both your names and see how often you have voted. Like, I could look up your voting record.
Mhm.
I can't say who you voted
But they'll
for.
tell
I
you
can
how
see
many.
which. So that's why you should vote in every election, because people can look it up.
People can look it up. I
I'm
get the
curious. I
letter.
think I do most of them.
That's good.
I get the letter. I get a letter every year that's like, or maybe it's not every year. Maybe I think I missed like spring election or something a couple of years ago, and I got a letter that's like, make sure you register to vote, or make sure your voter registration is updated.
Well, that's a good letter.
I also feel like one thing that I really hate about, I don't know if it's just a Wisconsin thing or whatever, but it is so weird that we have polling places in churches. I don't appreciate that. I think we should fix that, because I feel, so I used to live on the west side and I voted in the children's theater, which was lovely. And there was really lovely workers there. I really loved that polling place specifically. And then I moved to the north side and now I vote in a church, and it just feels very uncomfortable. And not to say that my poll workers aren't lovely people, because they're volunteering their time and I love them for that, but it doesn't feel the most welcoming. And I think that can be very intimidating to a lot of people, to even have to step foot in a church. So we
Yeah.
need to work on that.
Yeah. I will say yes. And they when I used to vote a long time ago, you vote in church, or not churches, but schools. I don't know if you remember that. But then there's all these, we have a mass violence problem. And so it's not safe to vote in schools. The schools, now they're all locked in. There used to be, I could go to my kid's school, just walk in the door. Now you need to ring the doorbell and they have to, look at you to let you in. So,
yeah.
But that's not an excuse, because I understand what you're saying too. And I've heard that a lot. Mm-hmm.
What frustrates me is that I live in the 3rd ward, and so I have to drive up Rudolph Road and pass another church that's being used as a polling place to get to the church that's actually my polling place. That is messed up to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we vote on that on council, so you could get on council and then vote no.
I want the polling place. You know what? The polling place can be in my living room.
They should be
actually.
fast food restaurants.
Well, they do have absentee voting. So you could go to a restaurant and vote, fill it out, or in your living room. But I understand your point too. It's very well taken.
I think to wrap this up is again, since we have a huge queer listening following, I think like right now people are just kind of feeling a little sad, a little like maybe, I don't want to say hopeless, but just feeling down. What could you say to like give our like listeners and just like our queer community here in the Chippewa Valley like some hope and maybe some like direction of what they should be doing and where they should be going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's true. I'm hearing a lot in like all areas of my life. People are feeling scared and there's a lot of anxiety, whether it be with hearing from my clients or with my friends and family and counsel. So that's legit. If you're feeling that, that's legit. And I think what I've been telling people is find your community, just lean in. And, you both are real big leaders. So thank you for that work, because we need leaders to bring people together. And that's really huge. And that's what I was telling you the other night at Firehouse, like what you do, like that night at the drag show, like that's, and what you do, Chance, too, that's amazing. And it creates safe places. I could cry, because it's like so important for people to have that. Just a place where they feel safe and welcome. I mean, it does wonders for people's mental health. They feel physically safe. So just people, like, find your safe places, find people that you feel good around and build that community, lean in, because there are people, especially in Eau Claire, that love you, that care about you. I got your back. I may not know you, but I have your back. And it's just, I think that's just find your people and lean in and hold them tight.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Small Town Big Gays is hosted by Travis Gorell and me, Chance Smith. Our music is 1 AM by TYB. You can check out his music. Links are in the episode description. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at STBG Pod. Find us on Facebook if you're a Facebook person. Email us at smalltownbiggays@gmail.com. And for more shit from me, Chance, go to strangehavens.com.